Right, let's give it a go again then. I was going to wait till 10 o'clock, but I can't wait till 10 o'clock because I've got so much to do for the radio show today. So, let's see. I'm going to try and watch this while I'm chatting with you and hope it doesn't go down again. Now, one or two of you said that it went down when I said the H word, so I'm going to say it again. And if it does go down again, because I say the H word, well, I'm just going to go and prepare the radio program. I'm not going to deal with this sort of nonsense from Google. So I came on to do the papers, and I noticed this morning there was a bit of activity on the old Twitter account there, and some of the usual suspects, Israeli supporters and Jews in the Northwest, were coming out of the woodwork, having a pop at yours truly and this program and the guests that I've had on the program in the past. And inevitably, when these Twitter flurries happen, some idiot, some moron, some complete cretin who's potless, because if they weren't potless they wouldn't do it, will put my name and Holocaust denial, there's Holocaust right there, and anti-Semitism in the same sentence, claiming that I'm an anti-Semite or I'm a Holocaust denier, none of which are true, but it doesn't matter. I don't waste too much time apologising, and not apologising, but I don't spend too much time defending myself against that sort of nonsense. I said before, I've got very thick skin. I've been around the media for over 20 years. People have been telling me that I'm amazing and that I am absolutely shit for 20 years. So you take both compliment and criticism in the same spirit. You ignore it, basically. It's what you do. You're marvellous, Richie. Thanks very much. That's okay. You're absolutely crap. Thank you. That's okay too. So what's interesting about it today is a couple of people who've been tweeting, and I've been losing my patience with them. One of them was a journalist called Nicole, and Nicole was asking me what are my thoughts on the Holocaust. And I said, well, I've said Holocaust again. We'll have to wait and see if we continue to stream. And I said, look, I'm sick to death of hearing about it. And I am. I've said this on the radio show before. In any given year, I reckon you've got 3 to 4 big productions, TV and film, about some heroism or some suffering in Nazi Germany. I'm sick to death of it. And a profound book, and a book that was very important for me in my early days as a journalist, was The Holocaust Industry by Norman Finkelstein, whose mother and aunt were in Auschwitz. And it meant a lot to Norman to see what the illegitimate, brutal, illegal, I said illegal already, didn't I? Illegitimate, racist, apartheid governments successive of Israel were doing to the indigenous people. And Norman felt, not to synopsize his book in a few silly sentences, but he felt that what happened to Jews in Poland and in Germany and elsewhere was used to exploit, they were being exploited by the Zionist regime in Tel Aviv. And I agree with that. I've always agreed with it. But it's interesting this morning, I've been inviting people, as I've always done, to come on, speak with me on the radio programme. You know, they can make funny comments on Twitter about the programme being some kind of Mickey Mouse internet programme. Well, it isn't. You can say that if you want. Again, I've got very thick skin, I don't mind. We get over 100,000 downloads through Podomatic alone a week. Imagine that. Imagine one bloke, one big ignorant baldy, sometimes inarticulate, sweary Irish bloke, out of a purpose-built studio in Manchester on his own with no industry support, can get 100,000 downloads a week through Podomatic alone. That's not including Spotify. It's not including iTunes. I go on air at 5 o'clock every day and I've got at least 50 to 60,000 people listening live. Imagine that. It's incredible, isn't it? And that's why my skin is very thick, you see. Maybe it's one of the reasons I don't have to worry about being bumped off the air, because I am the chief cook and bottle washer here at richieallen.co.uk. And I think I've gone down again, have I? I think the stream keeps getting interrupted, does it? Can somebody send me a tweet or a message? Can you send me a message? Because I really am an amateur at this. Is it still on? Has it stopped again? Just tell me if it stopped again. Send me a live chat and tell me. I'm trying to keep an eye on it, but it's very difficult. One of the comments made was by a guy who writes for the Jewish Telegraph, a guy called Mark Kaye, or Kaye. And Cailleor, I think. This moron accused me of claiming or stating that pedophilia is rampant in Jewish communities, which of course I never did. That was claimed on a program I presented a couple of years ago by a woman called Liz Crokin, big Donald Trump fan, anti-Zionist, and had been blogging a lot about pedophilia. And she was a big proponent of Pizzagate and stuff like that. So I brought her on. And of course, when Liz said that it was rampant in Jewish communities, of course I said, and I've said a million times, pedophilia is no more prominent or no more exaggerated in any particular group of people, whether it be a racial group or an identity group. It isn't. It would be foolish to think that or to say that. I've certainly never seen any evidence that any one particular group. Listen, you're talking to an Irish guy who lived through and reported thanks for telling me that it's still on, but the connection is poor and it's freezing. Well, I'm not doing that, and I've got a very healthy internet connection here, so I don't know what's going on, folks. I have no idea what's going on or why this is happening, and I don't know if those stuttering problems will be an issue when it uploads to YouTube. I have no idea, but I have no clue. So I'll just keep talking. Of course, I never said that. It was prominent. And challenge, see, these guys, this is libel. It's stone cold libel. And were any of these people to have any money, any serious money, I would sue them. Of course I would. Because it's an open and shut case of libel. And as for my comments on pedophilia in Hollywood, I commented before, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Many people have come out and said that they were sexually abused in Hollywood while working in Hollywood. Right. And I've said, and I will say again, that because many of the studios in Hollywood are run by Jewish businessmen and women and organisations, that maybe it hasn't made the news as much. The abuse of children in Hollywood hasn't been reported on because maybe reporters would feel, because of the big Jewish presence in Hollywood, that if I talk about that, I'll be accused of anti-Semitism. So I stand by those comments. Those comments are, reasonably benign. But it doesn't matter. Well, these people are foolish in the extreme because I don't care. Never have cared, never will care what these people say. Again, not to contradict myself, unless we find that one of these people is wealthy or has assets that can be taken from them. And in that case, I've never understood Icke, for example. David Icke, I've never understood David Icke. Some very powerful people have said that Icke is anti-Semitic. And some other very wealthy people have said that he's a Holocaust denier, which he isn't, to the best of my knowledge. I lived with the man, I knew him for some years, and he's never denied that Jews were targeted in Nazi Germany. But he's never gone after these people. I've never understood that. I've never bought his reasoning either, that it's just a waste of time or that he doesn't want to bring him down. I've never understood that because it's open and shut. And you could be talking millions in damages. Thanks to Sugspiracy for the super chat donation there. Thanks, mate. I really appreciate that. Is it still stuttering and starting, or is it good now, the stream? Is it? I don't know. Peter Paul Parker, who's a friend of mine and a guest on the programme, a terrific guy, says Richie, sexual abuse of boys was rampant at my Catholic school in Weybridge. They were trying to normalise it in the 1970s. Thank you, Peter. And that is right. Look, I grew up amongst it. So for any guy who grew up in Catholic Ireland to be foolish enough to make a comment saying that in Jewish areas pedophilia is rampant, it would be like the pot calling the kettle black, I suppose. It's a little bit better now, but it's still an unsteady stream. I don't know what to do. I am clueless as to why this is happening. It has not happened any other morning that we've done this. So there you go. So these wannabes, including a no-mark comedian called Marlon Solomon, who's a bit of a failed comedian in Manchester, Greater Manchester, when offered the right of reply to debate Jewish identity, to debate what's happening in Palestine, to debate how the state of Israel came to be, and also to debate why Jews like Norman Finkelstein and Shlomo Zand and others say what it is they say. Well, the likes of these Zionists in the UK, they just run a mile away because they can't. They're not intellectuals, full stop. They don't have the ability to hold a debate, to have a debate, to hold an argument, to argue a point. So they just run away, and from the safety of their bedrooms, they tweet things that are untrue, because we live now in a post-fact world when people can say things like this Mark Kaye from the Jewish Telegraph, say that, that I made such a stupid claim about Jewish communities. I pointed out to this moron that I don't believe, never have believed, and never will believe that Jews are a race. They are not an ethnic group unto themselves. There is no evidence to support that. None. They are Caucasians mostly, and some Africans, who believe in a fairy godfather in the clouds. That's what they are, just like Catholics, just like other religious denominations around the world. And they don't like that either. Ironically, they used to make that argument themselves. Zionists used to make that argument themselves against white supremacists. Because in America for many years, white supremacists blamed Jews for everything. And white supremacists claimed that Jews were a race. And at the time, Jews and Zionists said, we're not a race. We're not. So they can't make their minds up. The truth is, they're not a race. No more than the Irish are a race. We're Caucasians that happen to be born in the land or the island of Ireland. I'm really annoyed with this stream and how it's going. Thank you to Jason Williamson for his incredible generosity there. Thank you, Jason. I really appreciate that. He's just sent a super chat of £100 to the programme. Thank you so much, Jason. I've got to get on to Simon about this, because I don't know how I receive any of this money. I'll have to figure it out. I've not seen any messages from Google or YouTube, and I'm worried about that, so I'll have to check it out. Jason, thanks so much. Thanks a million. I really appreciate that. I'm sorry the stream is stuttering. I can't do anything about it. I wish I knew how to sort it out. I don't. But I was going to get into the newspapers. Is it still stuttering and starting, is it? No? Thank you again, Jason. And to Sugspiracy as well. But I'm not on ultra fast though. I'm not on ultra fast in the settings, and the settings haven't changed very much from where they were previously. Do you understand? I'm going to go into the advanced settings now while I'm talking to you, and I can change it. It is I think it's in normal latency, which is best for the high quality viewer playbacks and higher resolutions. So it's in normal latency, or at least I think it is. That's what it says there. So I can't figure this out. It's one of those. Thanks for that, Chris Brown, by the way. I don't know how it works. I just hope that when it uploads, after it's finished, that when it uploads, it won't be stuttering and starting. The newspapers are full to the brim today with as you might expect, D-Day information. It's the 75th anniversary of D-Day, and you've got. I'm going to go into the settings here. Bear with me, and see can I figure this out. No, I don't think I can. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to, and thanks to Stu, by the way, for your donation. Thank you, Stu. That's wonderful, mate. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for thinking of the program. Yeah, lots of comments there. Naroda tweets or messages me even, if it's an open and shut case of libel, Richie, crowdfund a lawsuit for court costs and £1. But it's not as simple as that. You know, to instruct a barrister, you're talking £500,000 to £750,000. Do you really think that I'm going to be able to raise £750,000 on crowdfunding? I'm not. I'm not going to raise that kind of money for a libel case like that. Like I said, and I mean it, if one of these idiots, a more wealthy version of one of these idiots, somebody that we can see is wealthy and has the means, is foolish enough to publish anywhere the claim that I've ever denied the Holocaust, or that I'm anti-Semitic. Nobody's anti-Semitic anyway, because Jews aren't Semites, but that's another argument. But yeah, anybody with the means who publishes anything like that publicly anywhere, I will sue them for libel. That's a fact. I will instruct a solicitor and eventually instruct a barrister and roll the dice, because it could fund this program for a couple of years in the long term. I'm not being negative, Kevin. I'm not being negative. I don't know what you might think. This is Kevin Hansen. What am I being negative about? I'm not being negative. I'm in good form. I'm just cheesed off that the stream is buffering as it is, and I don't know why it is. But I'll try and figure it out later on, and hopefully it won't happen tomorrow. It hasn't happened yet, and I've done these now for over a week. I've done 6 or 7 of these, and it's been perfect. So, right. Look, I better go off and get the radio show ready. Dean Henderson is on the programme later on. I probably will have another guest as well. It'll be a busy old show today, Thursday, June 6th, 2019. The programme is live, of course, on richieallen.co.uk first and foremost, but it also streams live on Fab Radio 2 here in Manchester, triggerwarning.tv, TuneIn Radio, which is the biggest app for radio stations in the world, and many other places as well. So there you go. So look, have a good day. Thanks again to Jason, to Sugspiracy, to Stu for the donations. Thanks to you for watching. I hope that when this is processed by YouTube or Google and uploaded, I hope the stuttering is gone. And in the meantime, I'll do my best to find out why it's like that. But it's a pain in the backside to watch it. Is it just a picture stuttering, or is it the sound as well? I think it's the sound as well, isn't it? It might be the sound as well. I don't know. I'll have to listen back to it. I'm here. No producer, just me, and nobody's monitoring it, so I don't know. Anyway, have a brilliant day, and I'll see